Let's talk about how you started this year. Did you start with a boost? Were you energized, or were you like, oh, I've been partying New Year's Eve, so you didn't have any energy at all? Well, my year actually started and ended with a bit of surprise, but I guess starting with a bit of surprise would actually be more accurate. So I don't know if you noticed, but I have been doing the Christmas challenge in the last week of the year. So it started at Christmas Day and it ended on New Year's Eve and the first day of the new year. And I talked about how to enjoy that time. And talking about having fun and enjoying things, I decided to continue on with that idea in mind. So yesterday I did an edit, and I basically edited the last live from the seventh day, because there were a lot of things in there which I was like, oh yeah, they do make sense. So let's get those out there. And while I was editing it, I was writing down a few things, and you will see these things, which we will get later into, written down in a framework. So this is actually the framework. So for those who have purchased the Christmas challenge, it's almost done, as in not obtainable anymore. But for those who did get it, and yes, it was free, it still is. So last day you can get it. Let's put it that way. I decided to also add a little thing, which was talking about the steps that I've discussed in those 7 days. Now, the first thing I wrote down here is, I'm just going to fold this for a sec. And then later on, I will show the framework. So the first thing is enjoy. Let me do something else. I started doing that when I did the Christmas challenge, and I actually kind of like it. So this is a magnetic board. This is a marker which I can use it to erase what's on the board. So the first thing is enjoy, also known as fun. So there we go. So I decided to call this the fun framework. Now you know why. And when you look at certain goals and certain dreams, it's about a certain vibe that comes with it. So I always talk about leaving a legacy. The legacy is not just about necessity, so it's important for me to leave that legacy, but it's also because I can see that the outcome would be a better place where people communicate more, they have more fun, and I want to leave that positive energy. So for me, it's important to do something which I enjoy doing, which I think is worth fighting for. But I also understand that it's so important to start doing things with fun, to look at the future with a fun view. And why is that so important? Because we are so good at doing things which we feel obligated to do. But maybe this is not about being obligated to do anything. Maybe this is about we forgot how to have fun and enjoy things. So enjoy, it is there. And the reason I said some things which were kind of unexpected happened, well, there were multiple reasons, but one of these was Brandenburg chart always talks about bring the joy. I actually have a shirt here somewhere. Yes, this is the shirt. Let me show you. It says bring the joy. So I didn't realize how important it was until I started listening to some other interviews, and then I was like, yeah, that is true. If you want to achieve something and you want to focus on the future, let's do it with joy. And so the entire Christmas challenge has been based on expressing yourself, but doing it with joy, and of course, getting clarity from it. So if you look at this framework, there it is, then on top you see enjoy, on the side you see express, on the side you see enjoy, and we are going to talk about how to get in the vibe to enjoy certain things which are based on the inner world with the goal to get it to the outer world. So, what's happening outside of you. And then, of course, to get clarity. Now, are you ready for it? Because I am. So, you might have noticed that I started a little bit late, and a little bit is an understatement today. And well, there were two reasons for it. Well, first of all, although I can summon the energy to go live and do certain things, I have noticed that my lives are way better when I'm rested. And apparently, I was kind of tired, which doesn't really surprise me because I had a very, very in depth conversation yesterday and last night. And as a result, my brains were probably trying to process it. And this morning, I was like, you know what? I want to write down those steps. So I looked back on the snippet of the live that I had posted. And then I was like, so, okay, so which things do I want to show on here? And then from there on, I went to a framework. I created the framework and posted it. Well, actually, I printed it. So I put it on pages which you use when you have Apple. And then I actually made it into PDF, sent it to some people, printed it too. And then I was like, okay, I'm good to go. But as a result, I'm way later than normal. So if you look in Instagram, you actually see the late version. So, but it's still, for me, the Friday Night Live, even though it's Saturday. Yeah, I know it is Saturday. But the thing is, it's about being consistent and getting it out there. It's not about being perfect. So, of course, I could have done it, eyes closed. But I was like, no, I want to do it with vibrancy, with energy. And having done the Christmas challenge live on Instagram every day, it brought back a lot of joy because I actually like doing it live on Instagram. But this is the program I'm using right now, the app StreamYard. It's easier to edit and do a lot of stuff with. And besides, Instagram, people don't want to watch that long. So it's a nice Instagram, but if I want to reach out to people, then it makes more sense to actually get it out there on Facebook and, of course, on YouTube. So that's what I did. So to get to step 2, it's about intention. And everything in this framework starts with intention. And I think that we would enjoy doing a lot of things way more if we set the right intention. The intention could be, I arrive at some place safely. It could also be, I arrive somewhere in time, safe, and I had a lot of fun doing so. Your intention could also be, while I'm driving anyway, I'm going to learn something, to study something. So you could be listening to a podcast, for instance. There are a lot of things that you could do. when you start driving and you're like annoyed from the get-go because you're going to be in traffic jam or whatever it is, or there's going to be rain and you're expecting all these things, well, one can wonder what that means for the drive over from where you want to go. Now, this applies to basically anything. So, of course, I could have done the Friday Night Live during the night, which I normally intend to do. And I could have said to myself, you can summon the energy. And you would have been right about that. But in this case, I was like, well, I want to do it with as most of the energy I can actually muster up. So you know what? I'm just going to do it a little bit later. A little bit later became a lot later, but it's out there. And that doesn't mean that there's nothing else that's going to be posted today, because there is. Because I said since December 1st last year, I'm going to post something every day. So I already know it's on average every day, so it can be a few hours later. But there's always something out there. And sometimes there are multiple posts out there actually on a day. So talking about intention, see what I said here? Vibe and enjoy. Let's see. Yeah, you can read it. So vibe and enjoy. So we're still talking about the inner world. So setting the intention has to do with you and how you want to experience things. Now, in order to enjoy things, it's good to set an intention and do so you know you're resonating on a certain vibe. So what's the vibe that you need in order to actually feel happy and feel good about it is that you are doing? For me, music works really well, and that's why that's listed as number 3, music. And music can help you calm down. It can also hype you up. So if you go to training, then a lot of times when you go to a live training, so a seminar where you meet other people, then quite often they already start with certain music. And well, actually, I do believe that's a very important thing to do. And I've noticed that listening to certain songs already makes me like, yes, we're going for it. So it immediately gives me that vibe like, oh, this is so good. So music can mean a lot of things to you, and it can also create that vibe for you, and especially help you to set that right intention. So the question is, what music works for you? Well, if you think about music, you can also think about meditation. So meditation can help you to start the day with a boost, with the right intention. It can also help you during the day to get going when you're a little bit tired or you're not sure what you want to focus on. And at the end of the day, it can help you to process things and also to be more prepared for the next day. So there's a lot which has to do with music. So quite often I use some ballads in order to fall asleep. And I also use them in order to feel the vibe which I need to create momentum. So music which is sort of like calm usually helps to help you reflect and get in that momentum. But of course, there are also times that you want fun music. So talking about meditation, one of the things that surprised me this week was when I went to my brother and I talked to my sister-in-law. So she is a coach as well, and she also is a therapist. And I showed her the training that I'm doing. So the courses which are there on the platform called Kajabi. So basically on ladylexy.com. And she saw my meditation. She saw what I had done using binaural beats, a certain musical pattern in the background, but also there were like all these things going through the visible on the screen, sort of like a filter, because it is a filter, it's an effect. And she really loved that, and she was kind of surprised. So it was kind of nice to show her all those things, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. So that was kind of cool. Now I realized that I used enjoy, and then I stopped writing anything on there. So, well, let's get back to number 2, which was intention. So if you want to, you can take pictures. I always like that when Brandon Burchard does those things and he shows that. So my role model is Brandon Burchard, in case you've missed it. So intention was, how do you want to start any activity, basically. Then I talked about music, which helps you to set the right intention and to get in the right mood. So music, there it is, music. Little fun fact, my sign name actually means music. And originally I was named after a musical classical play. So getting back to this thing over here, it's about enjoying yourself and it's about the right vibe. And now we are going to talk about expressing yourself and about clarity. So at this moment, when I talk about expressing yourself, I am going to talk about the inner world, a little bit of the outer world. So you want to talk to other people to get a better idea of what it is that you need. But let's go to the first thing, which is related to expressing yourself and the inner world. So, right, let's talk about writing. So one of the things that I did before I started this live is I wrote down a whole bunch of things right here. Actually, I started by writing down a whole bunch of things, like here in the middle and here on top. So yes, when I am doing puzzles, I also use them to write certain things down. And well, first it started with this, and I don't know about you, but I couldn't read it anymore. So then I did it again, like here. That was more readable. And then I actually did it again. And while writing the words down, I actually got to create a framework, which led to this one. And then eventually to this one. Yes, there you go. So the whole goal is to get clarity, and again, doing it with fun, but besides clarity, to also focus so you get things done. So we are working with the inner world, for instance, by using meditation to get a message out there and to take action towards the outer world. So if you want to achieve something, you have a goal, you have a dream you want to accomplish, then it's important that you actually know, but what is it that I want to do? And that's what we are talking about today. So by writing things down, and I showed you a few things about what I have been writing down, you actually can get clarity. You can use writing to actually ask yourself questions like, why am I not doing this? Why am I postponing this? Why do I feel this is not working? So writing can be a very powerful tool. And well, a number of you know that I have got this beauty, which is the transformation sheet. You can obtain that one if you want to. If you go to Instagram, there is a link. if I think about it, I'm going to think about it intention, right? Then I will also put it in the description so you can obtain it. Now, what's so important about this sheet, I've shown it more often, but in case you've never seen it before, it is about negative beliefs, negative thoughts, going to positive ones, and then by using certain symbols and words. So it really is like, hey, this is what feels right. And then eventually using your hands on your heart to make it something that's really, something that you feel deep down inside, things can change for the better. And it might not happen overnight, but if you keep doing it over and over again, you will see the difference. So what does this have to do with writing? You write down your beliefs, you write down your thoughts, and then you're going to look at what you have written down. And maybe you have written down, I don't believe I can do it. Maybe you have written down that you have made all these mistakes. So you want to change that vibe. Remember we were talking about vibes? You want to change that vibe. That is what writing is surrounded with. So it becomes a positive vibe, hence vibe. And remember, enjoy. So when you are already certain, like this is not going to turn out the way it should, well, you can wonder, is it any use to continue on or not? And I believe it's still worth continuing on, but it is about your mindset. And, well, we are very good at continuing on with things that people once said to us, maybe when we were children, growing up, not understanding what they said. And in order to protect ourselves, we started repeating and saying it to ourselves internally. And as a result, it just didn't work out very well. Which brings me to the next surprise, visit. Yeah, I visited someone I met up with a friend, and she has known me like forever, since high school. And we talked about mindset and about beliefs and about the energy that surrounds ourselves. So when we are in a dark place, and that could also be dark thoughts, then, that's not going to help you to move forward. We need to transform that, hence the transformation sheet. Hence why I use smiley symbols and happy things, and why I say, okay, put your hands on your heart. Because we want to change that vibe and see what can we do to take the negative out and make it into the positive. Of course, there are a number of ways to do so. Mine is primarily focused on meditation, on becoming aware of what you're saying to yourself, and also visualizing different outcomes. So when you keep seeing the negative thing over and over and over again, and you're not focusing on anything positive, then, well, what do you expect the outcome to be? That it suddenly changes if you only believe in the negative? But when you actually allow yourself to also see a positive outcome, and especially when you start working towards it, well, that's going to be a whole different ballgame. So writing can, of course, also be about the goals that you want to achieve in the future. What is it that you want to do? What is something you really enjoy doing? So writing can give you a whole bunch of clarity about so many things. And that's why it's important to write things down, and especially what you plan on doing. And at the end of the day, why you did do it or why you didn't do it. And if you did it, how did it make you feel? That's what you want to know. Now, not everybody is just into writing. There are also a lot of people who are into drawing. So let's Let's use this one. And let's change it into drawing. There we go. So draw. I am one of those people who like to make all these drawings. I've written a book which is called Uncovering Your Mindset, and it contains all these drawings too. If you look back on my Christmas challenge, as far as it's still available, you will see there are drawings that I've made in there too. So drawings can help you to come up with details, to clarify things you didn't know, to come up with certain things that you're like, oh, but that just, it changes the vibe. That one thing that you were like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm not sure. And then you add little things, you add little clues. So you can do so in writing. So you add little details, but you can also do that, by using a pencil and paper, or an iPad and an iPencil, or a tablet and what do they call it? Ooh, there's a specific word for it. A stylus, that's it. So the question, of course, is what works best for you? And the thing is, when you are drawing, that you get your mind to relax. By doing repetitive things, your conscious mind is going to slow down. It's going to get bored. And the good thing about that is that your subconscious mind gets the chance to come to the surface. That's also one of the reasons that I use these puzzles, because the puzzles help me to actually relax and get the mind, the chatterbox, to quieten down. And then other things can come to the surface. So I set the intention that while I'm doing it, I also come up with ideas. And that's what I'm doing. I'm writing down the ideas the moment that I get them. So that's something that can work. But yes, drawings can help too. And it's up to you what you want to do. So I've got a short video on Instagram where you actually can see how I want to leave a legacy. So I'm sharing my idea of having a park out there. That park consists of multiple tiny houses. And there's also one place where people can go to and meet up. The tiny houses are there for the people who want to stay over and be coached, but a part of the park is reserved for families with children who are about to pass on. And so we call it the children's hospice. And there's not enough attention when it comes to children's hospices. So it's a whole different ball game for the siblings, for the parents, because it's not natural to lose a kid. But, I've noticed that children can be so smart. And of course, for the siblings, it's also very important to be able to look back on certain things. So part of the park is reserved to actually record certain things and to show certain things in the videos, have people be there on the stage, have their own song, and which is about the past, the present, and the future. And I want the ones you want to share and leave a message for their siblings and their parents and their friends, for the world possibly, to be able to express their thoughts too. So remember, this is about expressing yourself. I wrote it down there right on top, express. Well, that's what they get to do. They get a chance to express themselves, have their message recorded, and then broadcast it to the world when they are ready for it and when their family is ready for it. And I drew that. I literally drew the the tiny house, a number of them. Then looking inside the tiny house, you could see the stage. Then you could see that there were walls like a past, present, future. And you also saw one of those kids, actually with a drip in their arm, sitting behind the microphone. And next, I added the audience who were cheering and listening in. So that's a way to actually get clarity when it comes to what it is that you would like to achieve. So drawing can be fun. You can use colors, you can use whatever you like. And it's a good way to also develop the fine motor skills. Well, number 6, design. And when we talk about design, I don't know if you know this, but I did talk about it a number of times by now. I talked about Lego, and this is about getting clarity using Lego. So I showed basically that park. So I showed the tiny house, what's in there. There are a number of elements still missing, which are like cameras and all those kind of things to record certain things. But it also showed the outside of a firehouse. And well, on the inside, my goal is to actually have that stage on there where people can go to and be on stage. Now, I also talked about songs and songwriting. Now, I'm pretty sure that I can write the text pretty easily, but one of the things that I have wanted to do for a while now, actually for decades, is figure out, but how do I write a song? So the closest I got was actually when I was with a friend, and we used this, well, it's sort of like a tablet with a lot of buttons on there. It's from Novation, and you can program and use certain things like drum beats and like tones and all those things. And actually that makes it quite easy to change the vibe from, bluesy and upbeat, funky to more relaxing. And well, I actually like to use it because I like it when it becomes more upbeat and more funky. So, and it's an easy way instead of setting up the drum kit, recording it, and all the other stuff. Well, I do have a drum kit that's already set up, but you get the drift, hopefully. And when looking at it, and actually because I've been talking about it, and then I'm going to go quickly to number 7, which is visualize. There we go. I was actually kind of surprised to find out that one of the interviews that, no, let me correct that. At some point, and that was a surprise too, but that actually happened like a couple of months ago, I realized, because I was on Instagram, and on Instagram there's 80s music, and then there were the Scorpions on there with Still Loving You, and I was like, oh, let me figure out what are they doing nowadays. So there I saw them, 2 people who were about to turn 76 or already had turned 76, and the singer and the founder of the Scorpions, who plays mainly rhythm guitar but also does some solos as well. And his thing was he wanted to be the best composer out there. And I was like, oh, that's funny. So when I talked to a friend earlier this week, we talked about how her daughter, her 10-year-old, is always singing. And well, officially, they haven't learned any English in school, but she is actually singing in English. So she's taking all these parts and she is combining it, and that's so cool. So her mom said to me, I want to see if she can go to training where they compose things. But, well, I'm not sure if she really feels like it. She's a little bit scared. And I said, well, you know what? I want to do those things too. So let's go together. So when it comes to visualizing, this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. And of course, having one of my friends now play in her own band that she set up, writing her own songs. She's called La Vero. It's kind of cool to actually see what she's doing. And I helped her out when it came to playing keyboard. But that wasn't what I came up with. It was something that someone else came up with. So I did actually come up with something originally. And then she said, no, I want it like this. So that's the way I played it. But yes, I would like to do more with these things. So I like to edit certain melodies for the meditation, especially the ones which are out there for free. But it would be kind of cool to compose my own music. So I actually did it for quite a while, didn't feel good enough, so I stopped doing it. And now it just sort of showed up in interviews, and then not only in interviews, but also talking to my friend. So visualization is such a powerful tool, and we are often not aware of how strong it is. But if you think about something often enough, then we are about to see the signs. And actually, about a year ago, could have been 2 years, but I think it's 1 year ago, I went to a concert and I needed new earplugs. So I stopped by a shop, a store, and actually they have a music school in the back. And they told me they also do things when it comes to composing things. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So it's one of the things that I actually want to do. And by thinking about it and also showing it with the Lego, so showing basically the stage on there and the screens that are visible, something is happening. And Lego, of course, is not the real thing. But then again, neither are the parks. But it is there, like I can touch it, I can feel it, I can be there. And that helps when it comes to expressing ourselves and to show things when it comes to the outer world. So basically taking action. Now, let me go from visualize to the next step, which is daydreaming. Yes, I'm finally getting the habit of writing things down. So that's good. Now, daydream is basically the next step, which is linked to visualization. So if you go back to the whole thing, remember joy, enjoying yourself, setting an intention which feels good. So getting the right vibe, enjoying yourself. Then when we get an idea of what it is that we want, and we start working on that, so whether it's by drawing or by writing or using a Lego, whatever it is, we can actually get clarity. So hence why I put clarity underneath. And you want to get clarity as in to realize what it is that you want and you need and you want to get out there, what you want to accomplish. So daydreaming actually helps. And here's the thing, and not many people know this, but our brain has a certain power. Our brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fantasy. So we can actually practice certain situations, and while we are practicing those, we experience certain emotions and feelings. We might feel scared, but we can actually change that. So by adding things, adjusting things, so tweaking and changing, we can actually make it into something that might actually work out really well. And by doing it over and over and over again, it starts to make sense that we we start to work towards it, because from doing it in your mind like dozens or hundreds or thousands of times towards actually going to do it, versus not having done it at all and it'd be like, that's a big difference. Now, there's one other aspect that I probably didn't mention as much as I would like to, but remember that I talked about the inner world and that I talked about meditation, which was when I talked about music and the vibe. I also talked about meditation. A lot of things I talk about are about the inner kid. And whereas we have the inner kid, so the one who has all the dreams, who hasn't had all the restrictions just yet, if we tap into that vibe, which hopefully is one of innocence, so the inner kid is also the one who doesn't know how to deal with certain things. So a lot of mindsets are based on things that we experienced when we weren't capable of rationalizing what was actually happening. So if we make contact with the inner world, there are two things that we can do. We can reassure the inner kid. So that's when the inner kid struggles with certain things. And the opposite basically is we can get to enjoy what the inner kid is fantasizing about, dreaming about. And usually when you see kids playing, just listen to what it is they're actually saying, and you can pick up a lot of what's going on in their world. So when we talk about daydreaming, we can use the inner kid and the dreams of the inner kid to go places and to go back to, what was the feeling that we had back then? And then I'm going to make a big step. So remember that when I was talking about the past, the present, and the future, and about those songs, which usually have like a twist at some point, and then we go to how it's going to be now, and basically also the future, we can talk to the future version, which I refer to as the future champ within us. So basically, there is a lot of wisdom stored within us because we've read a lot of things, we've watched a lot of things, we have experienced way more than actually is something we remember. The chatterbox only shows so much. And when we get into that meditational state, whether it's because we're almost sleeping or we are still sleepy, or using that meditation, guided meditation, or music. By the way, I do have a number of meditations out there. And if you were to join my weekly or 2 weekly coaching calls, group coaching training, then you often will experience that there are meditations out there based on the topic that is relevant. So what we're discussing that day. And when we talk about role models, and you already heard me, I talked about Brendon Burchard being my role model. I think I can add Rudy Schenker to that list too. Evan Carmichael is definitely one also of those role models. He knows everything about YouTube. And there are more people who I can add to that list. There are a few drummers. Eric Carr always has been my role model ever since I was a kid. Lately, I want to add James Kodak to that list. Unfortunately, he is no longer around. But the fun they had and the way they expressed themselves playing drums, that's, yeah, it's very inspiring. So now, when we talk about role models, and Roy Martina is also one of the people who talked and taught a lot about role models. They are usually aware of what it is that we need to do. So whereas the chatterbox wants to stop us from doing things, mindsets which have come into existence probably somewhere between 0 and 7, we need to also experience the opposite. And as far as I can tell, my future version, my future champ, is basically a no-nonsense person. So, they know what to do. And since they already done it, they know that fear is not going to help. It's about taking action. So that's why the future version, future champ, is so important. And do you remember that I talked about writing things down? Do you remember that I talked about talking to yourself about the negative beliefs and transforming that with the transformation sheet? Oh, that's basically what the future champ, the future version of yourself, can help you to do. So of course, you can also take certain traits from your role models. What are they good at? So for instance, there are things that I don't want to. So when it comes to the drummers, for instance, well, they died young, but they were very good with their fans. They took their time to help them out. But there were also a few things which were not that good when it came. So one of them was constantly doubting himself or a car, which is a shame. And when it comes to James, he had to struggle on and off when it came to, well, basically to forgetting things, drinking. So that's a severe addiction. Well, that part I don't want. But seeing them expressing themselves in the way they did it, oh my God, that is so immensely cool. And well, one of the things that I basically want is to be on stage one day and play the drums. So here's the other thing. I talked to you about certain things which made an impact on me. And well, one of the kiddos or friends of mine, so that's the other one actually. So one was the one who is basically composing songs, putting things together. And the other one is about playing songs. So he has added music on the app Duolingo. And he said to me, hey, have you already done this? Can you help me with this? And then he showed me which songs he was playing. And then I started adding music too on Duolingo. And to my surprise, when I visited my brother, his two oldest ones are learning to play the piano. So they were playing on the baby grand, which belonged to my mom. And well, I hadn't played on one since it was at their place now. So it was kind of nice to actually be playing on the baby grand with them. And I was like, yeah, I need to pick this back up again. And basically, by already doing the basic things in Duolingo, playing the notes and everything, it's like, oh, things are coming closer again. So yeah, so the part of the daydreaming is, what does the future version believe that's important for you to do? And actually, what does the future version tell you to do? That's something that you want to think about, because your future version shouldn't be plagued by all these doubts. That's you nowadays working with the mindsets that you grew up with and that you adopted at some point. But the future version, the role model, knows what it is, because your future version has already achieved that dream and that goal. So figure out what it is, and when you realize that you're doubting yourself, use that transformational sheet. Remember the one that I showed you? I showed you over and over again by now, but that's the one who turns things from negative into positive. And again, use the vibe, use the right music, use the right intention. So from daydreaming, we are going to expressing yourself. So, of course, we already talked about the whole writing thing and drawing, but this is about expressing yourself and going from the inner world to the outer world. They also refer to it as the inner game and the outer game. I first heard this from Roy Martina and actually never quite got it. But talking about it today and writing things down, I finally was, oh, this is what he means with the inner world and the outer world. So I knew that the inner world was what's on the inside and the outer world is what's on the outside. But basically, it's about capturing what it is that you want to accomplish and what you want to feel and dream about, and then taking it, expressing it to other people, and then doing something with it. That's going to be the next step, by the way. So we take what we want from the inner world and then we are going to express ourselves. We can do it by, for instance, posting things on Instagram, going live like I'm doing right now, getting courses out there, talking to friends about it. And there are numerous ways to express ourselves. And when we do, we get more clarity. That's where the clarity part comes in. So they can come up with ideas, things that we haven't thought about. And during the Christmas challenge, I actually talked a lot about all these elements. And that's why, even though Christmas is over by now, although some still may have the Christmas tree, it is so important to actually see if you can still be a part of that training, because it gets into enjoying things and what you can do to express yourself and to get clarity. So I will put the link in there. It's only going to be there like for one more day or something. After this weekend, it's done. It won't be there anymore. But when you do have the chance, remember it's free and it's up to you what you want to pay. So, of course, you can donate a little something. So I suggested €1 per day for 7 days, but it's up to you what you want to pay for it, because I am convinced that it's going to help you. So express yourself, share your ideas with other people, what it is that you're thinking about, how it would work. And that's exactly what I've done with all the people that I met up with this week. And like I said, it was surprising what happened when I was talking to them. There were outcomes I absolutely did not expect. But when it comes to accountability, and that's what this tattoo is all about on my hand, so it was kind of funny because when I was there, the girlfriend of one of the sons of my brother was there, and we started sharing tattoos. So I think it started out with, hey, you've got blue hair. And she wasn't the first one to say so this week. And then I said, well, in case you're going to ask, yes, I've got stars on here, and that's it. Those are tattoos too. And then she said, oh, I'm not surprised at all. And then she showed me all the tattoos that she's got. And then she wanted to know what this one was about. So I said, well, do you remember those scribblings that you can put on your hands? So I said, well, this is about an accountability partner. So as to get myself to move forward, to motivate myself to do things. And well, talking about that, it was, it was kind of nice to actually express and share why I've got it on there. And basically, it's something that anyone can see. And a number of people already have wondered about this, what this is. I mean, it's not like you can miss it. Although I thought originally when it would be written that, it would be sort of hidden like here. But I'm okay with people seeing it. It's the way it is. And it especially is there for me, right? So the last step is actually kind of simple. During the Christmas challenge, I called it Go Places. And now I've just written down go. So there we go. Go. And the question, of course, is what are you going to do? So when we go from the inner world, we go to expressing ourselves to other people, express ourselves by writing, doing other stuff. And the goal is to let people know what it is that you're up to so they can keep you accountable. But go is also about taking action, about focusing. And that's why I originally wrote down focus here instead of express. But then I later changed it to express because I believe that this says just a little bit more. So maybe express could be focus on here, and change it around. But it's about going and doing things. So when you talk about the secret, and I believe that's a very true thing, the secret is about visualization. It's about writing things down. And, we might even have a sheet on the wall. I've got one over there, which has all these sentences of how you want things to be. And you can say them out loud, which is called affirmations. But how often do we actually say those affirmations? Do we do it once a day, or do we do it once a week? Do we stop doing it altogether at some point because we kind of forget about it and, daily life takes over? And that's the thing. If you want things to change, you need to take action. So you want to come up with something that works for you. In this case, something you also enjoy because you want to keep doing it for a long time. And from there on, it's about setting dates and taking actions. And I've noticed that whenever I actually set a date, things are so different compared to when I do not. So your future self knows it's going to do things, but there is no date on there. So when you actually become more specific and you start to write down when you want to achieve things, and maybe it's not going to work out the way you want it to be at that date, but at least you've taken action. And when I started this life, I said, I'm later than I normally am. So this is supposed to be Friday Night Live based on Pacific time in the US. And well, I was really late. So basically, it was no longer Friday night unless you count the days the hours that it's still dark. But for a lot of people, it was already Saturday. And for me, that's okay, as long as I keep doing it, as long as I am consistent with what I'm doing. And I do believe that I've been consistent when it comes to those kind of things. So go is go do it. Go out there, talk about it, make yourself accountable by sharing it with others, make others be curious and asking you, hey, where are you when it comes to this? But also see it. Where do you want to be? So if we talk about 2025, what is it that you want to have accomplished at the end of the year? And during one of my lives, I think it was on New Year's Day, I basically talked about me wanting to get those trips out there. So at the end of the year, the Christmas trip, but I also, I love going to Chicago and then form a group with people there, which I coach. And then especially if it can be with small business owners, not that I don't want to talk to people who are not business owners, but I do believe that small business owners, when it comes to creating a ripple effect, and there's already a layer extra because they have spouses or not, and they have children or not, just like people who are not business owners. But the big difference is they also have employees, and they can influence those employees in a positive manner if they know how to. And that's one of the things that I want to do. I want them to be understood by their employers, but I also want them to encourage and value their employees. And well, when we can do that, then, we can start to learn how to improve communication. So that's why the last step is go. So just a quick overview. This life has been about enjoying yourself, doing things, looking towards the future, thinking about your inner world. What is it that you want to accomplish? What are you daydreaming about? And then using intention and music to create the right vibe to go do it. Like I said, keep enjoying yourself, get clarity on what it is you want to achieve, and then eventually express it so you can get more clarity. And these were the steps. Now, you can still register for the Christmas challenge. And I know it sounds a little bit odd because, yes, Christmas is sort of like past us. Even Chief Rockstar is no longer wearing the Christmas outfit. But that doesn't mean that the things which are in there are not getting into all the things that I just talked about. And like I said, you can still get it for free. It's up to you what you want to charge. Of course, afterwards, it's not going to be for free anymore. So it's up to you whether you want to sign up and be able to go and just check this out like forever. This is about taking action, right? About that last step, go. For now, I would like you to think about it is that you want to accomplish, what you have said to yourself. What did you talk about? What are the things that you say to yourself? What do you believe can be true and what not? Write those down. Talk to it with other people. And also let me know when, and you can actually put this underneath the video on YouTube, what it is that you would like to accomplish. For those who do sign up, you get a chance for a free one-on-one coaching call. So take the opportunity. You can postpone things indefinitely, or you can think about what I've shared during this live and say, okay, it's time to take action and follow my dreams. It's up to you what you're going to do.